travel at speeds pushing 200 miles per hour. The very best drivers in the world putting their lives on the line every week. It's time to get the lowdown on this week's contenders, plus a look at the key driver matchups. Right now on Gaughan Racin.
Welcome into the South Point Hotel Casino. Gaughan Racing, Jeff Motley, and this is one of my favorite... With a microphone this week. And this is one of my favorite weeks of the year because my co-host over here, Brendan Gaughan, everybody, Brendan is competing this weekend at Talladega, so we get to actually talk about you racing a little bit this weekend. So you're pretty excited about this weekend, right?
I am very excited about this weekend. I'm excited to be here today on the show. I'm excited that we look a little more professional. I was told I did not look professional with my phone doing all the stats every week, so I'm making Karina happy.
But you're wearing a T-shirt and a ball cap.
Listen, only so many professional things at once. We started the show with a microphone, and I'm starting the show with a computer today.
I mean, what is that? I feel
how much do you want? How much do you want?
No, I feel like with you, we're playing whack-a-mole. We get one thing fixed, and another thing pops up.
Clean-shaven for the most part.
You are clean-shaven for the most part, but you have to now.
No. It's race week. I'm going back to old habits right now. But
it's race week. You guys get to see Brendan on TV all weekend. He'll get more interviews probably than anybody, and
I'll try.
A lot of publicity. And of course, Brendan, you were on TV more than anybody the last time you were at Talladega. We saw your undercarriage a little bit more than we expected to see it at Talladega.
Depends on who you are, if you wanted to see it or not. Yeah, no. If you're watching, of course, we are iHeartRadio. So if you're doing this the podcast style, you won't be able to see it. You listen to it, but they're showing the fantastic kickflip that I was able to perform in front of the field at Talladega last fall. Stuck the landing.
Look, there's two Las Vegas guys right there. One's upside down. And
there's a third one. If you go to the wider shot, there's a third one there. The guy that hit me was my other fellow Las Vegan.
Well, Kyle was in the middle of that.
Kyle's the one. Kurt hit Kyle. Kyle and Ricky got together. Kyle came up to me, so it was a Vegas sandwich, and we took us all out in one fell swoop. So nicely done, Vegas.
Well, we're going to get to Talladega in a little while. We got a couple news items we want to talk about this week. Yeah. The first one we're going to talk about the All-Star race is moving from Charlotte to Bristol.
Cool.
It's coming up in the middle of July.
Now, Jeff, we've talked for years about maybe trying to move it around. And then, look, you and I are both homers when it comes to SMI. For those that don't know, there's SMI and there's ISC. They're the two.
Well, the ISC is now all NASCAR.
Okay.
So they've kind of morphed into the same.
But they're the two largest track owners in the country.
Correct.
And SMI has always done the All-Star race. It's always been at Charlotte since it began.
I think it ran Atlanta maybe a couple times back in the way early days. In fact, I think
remember that.
The famous pass in the grass, was that not at Atlanta?
No, that was Charlotte.
That was Charlotte. Yeah. They ran the All-Star race a couple times in Atlanta.
But it's always been SMI. So it's always been one of those tough things where the Smith family, of course, does not want to lose the All-Star race and let it go around too many places. But with this current situation, it gives us a great opportunity to move it to a place like Bristol. People have clamored for years to have the All-Star race at a short track. Oh my God, we're going to Bristol for the All-Star race. Only money involved. This could get ugly.
I'm really curious to see what the format is going to do by moving to Bristol, because you can't do the same format you do at Charlotte. Nope. You can't have a 10-lap sprint because you need guys a little bit more time. But I think it's going to be really neat going there. And the governor of Tennessee has said you can have 30,000 fans there, which is part of the reason for moving the race.
That's listen. We're starting to get some of these states to allow us access to fans. This week at Talladega, we'll have 5,000. They said that Bristol can have 30. And here's the thing, people. You can socially distance really well at Bristol with 30,000 people.
You absolutely can. Bristol's a huge place. I don't know how many seats.
I think it's 145
Jerry
or something.
Caldwell could tell us how many seats are there, but it's a lot of seats at Bristol.
Let me tell you something.
I was there for a football game about 4 years ago, Virginia Tech and Tennessee, and that was unbelievable.
I went to the top of the grandstands once. One of the only places I've ever gone into the grandstands. Dude, that place is, when you're sitting in the nosebleed at Bristol.
Well, that's the best seat in the house at Bristol. Unless you're there for the football game.
But for racing, it's a phenomenal seat. But I'm telling you, if you're afraid of heights, man,
oh yeah,
you are looking down in
what was that Mel Brooks movie, High Anxiety? You would have gotten high anxiety
there
if you'd been up there.
Oh my goodness, that place is. But it's going to be exciting to watch them at Bristol this year.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. Now, the other news that came out this week, the annual induction class for the NASCAR Hall of Fame, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going in, which
the big headliner,
which I think was a no-brainer. I mean, when you look at the stats compared to everybody else that was actually on the ballot, he's probably the most qualified driver to go in. I mean, I know there's some other fan favorites like Ricky Rudd, Harry Gant, Neil Bonnet, guys guys that are on the list that didn't get in, but Dale Earnhardt Jr., Red Farmer, who, if people don't know
Farmer.
Red, and you probably had some experience with Red probably back in the day.
I've raced against Red.
In fact, everybody's raced against Red.
If you haven't, you are not a racer.
I think Tim Flock raced against Red, and I think Joey Logano's raced against Red. I mean, Red is in his 90s, and he's still racing.
Chase Elliott has raced against Red.
Chase Elliott has raced against Red. So,
no, that's awesome. And then
Mike Stefanik.
That's the one people may not know Mike Stefanik. You know Dale Jr.
And I grew up in Martinsville, Virginia. People don't know, where the modifieds were king. So Mike Stefanik had not really come along before I left when he hit it big, but I know you've got a Mike Stefanik story.
No, look, everybody has a Dale Jr. story. And look, we all know what Jr. was able to do and accomplish and who he was and how he did it and all those things. But people may go, who the hell's Mike Stefanik? Mike Stefanik was an amazing man. Phenomenal race car driver, but I made a massive mistake. And for the NASCAR fans here, we're going to not talk about gambling for a second. For the NASCAR fans, Mike Stefanik won 9 championships. I think is what it might have been 10 even.
He won 9 championships, okay, which I believe is the most.
Here's the record. He beat
most NASCAR championships in any division.
He beat one man by the name of Richie Evans.
One of my favorite drivers as a kid growing up.
Richie Evans, if you are listening to this and you are in the northeast of America.
Well, Richie Evans is not listening.
Well, no, I didn't say Richie. If you are listening to this, if you're listening to this podcast, you live in the Northeast, and you even remotely know racing, you know who Richie Evans is.
In the Northeast, Richie Evans was as big as Richard Petty was in the South.
No, he is godlike status, Richie Evans. But so I won my first championship, NASCAR Championship 2000. I'm a 24-year-old kid from the West Coast. Malcolm Smith is my hero. Walker Evans, Rob McCachran. These are guys to me that are mythical status. And I'm at dinner and I have Mike Helton, Mrs. Stefanik. He's getting his award. And they say, man that tied with the most wins in NASCAR. I go, Richard Petty, Dale Earnhardt. And they go, with Richie Evans for 8 championships. And I look and I go, who the heck was Richie Evans? It was like an old Western saloon.
I would have looked at you funny, too. Do you know that?
The music stopped. Everybody in the building turned sideways, looked at me, and I'm like, uh-oh. You try to shrink that big. I'm like, oh, God. And I proceeded for the next hour to learn the history of Richie Evans and Mike Stefanik. And I promised Mr. Stefanik that I would never, as long as I lived, forget who Richie Evans ever was. And I made my point of asking them if they knew who Malcolm Smith was. And they said no. I said, well, that's my version of their Richie Evans. But Stefanik was an amazing man, passed away recently.
Yeah, a plane crash, I believe. Yeah.
But Stefanik was race truck series, race Busch Series, race a couple times. This was an amazing race car driver, and oh my goodness, I am so excited that he got in to the Hall of Fame because they deserve that more than anybody I know.
Well, and the fourth guy we did mention is Ralph Seagraves going in. A lot of people don't know about Ralph Seagraves. Ralph Seagraves is the guy who put Winston in the Winston Cup Series. He was at R.J. Reynolds, and I'm going to tell a Ralph Seagraves story that now I've heard this third hand.
You ain't old enough. I was going to say you ain't old enough.
I never met Ralph Seagraves, but I heard the story third hand, and if whether the story's true or not,
it's a great story.
It's worth telling because it's such a great story. But Ralph Seagraves was at a dinner one night, and Richard Nixon was a featured speaker, and Richard Nixon was up on the dais, and Ralph kept telling everybody walking into the dinner that he knew Richard Nixon. Well, Ralph might have had a couple of pops before the thing started, and the word was out that no matter what you guys do not take your eyes off Ralph because he says he knows Nixon, and we're not sure if he really knows Nixon or not. Well, somehow somebody took their eyes off Ralph, and Ralph had disappeared. Next thing you know, there's a commotion up on the dais, and the Secret Service are scrambling, and 2 Secret Service guys are on top of Ralph, who has climbed up on the dais, and Nixon turns around, looks down, and says, "Ralph, what are you doing down there?" So obviously, Nixon did know Ralph, and Ralph did know Nixon.
There you go.
So I always thought that was a funny story because everybody's
but as the man that is responsible for getting Winston, which is honestly what the reason we still have a NASCAR to this day is because of that.
He truly built the sport up in the early 1970s, and he was a real pioneer. And I think it's good that the Hall of Fame is honoring guys like Red Farmer and Ralph Seagraves. And I think the fact that Richie Evans is in the Hall of Fame and Jerry Cook and some of those old racers are in the Hall of Fame. So, okay, we talked enough about the news. We need to talk a little bit. Right, we got to talk about a little racing now. We got to talk about last weekend. Denny Hamlin.
Hey, you named it. 10-1 shot to win the race.
He was a 10-1 shot, and you know what you and I missed last week. You and I missed the fact.
I didn't miss anything. I don't know what you're talking about. I never miss anything.
Well, here's what we really missed last week, and we should have been on top of this. Last week, Denny Hamlin, first race back with his crew chief after that 4-race suspension, after that lead or whatever it was fell out of his car in Charlotte.
And you and I have always said if Denny Hamlin could make it to the championship race.
But now that championship ain't at Homestead anymore.
What I'm saying is if he had made it there, he was always a threat.
Well, he would have won it last year, except they left the tape on the grill on the pit stop, and he overheated.
He ended up winning this race, and he paid well. I mean, he was 10-1 to win the race. He was 275 for the top 3, and those were good numbers of the guy to win the race. And Chase Elliott, we talked about, top 3 was plus 200. We said he was chalky, but he proved why he was up there. Ryan Blaney, top 3, was a plus 300.
The hottest guy who hasn't won, Ryan Blaney this year. Hasn't won this year. Ryan
Blaney's hot.
Every single year, every single week, Ryan Blaney is a contender to win.
But I want you to look at those top 10 people right there. We talk about how chalk heavy the wins are in this sport. Yes. But look at this. Tyler Reddick, 4th.
Clear. By the way, he has now emerged far and away the Rookie of the Year.
Oh, you say that, but then you got Eric Almirola 5th, Kyle Busch 6th, Austin Dillon 7th, RCR, Christopher Bell, the other guy in the Rookie of the Year, starting to finally show some
Tyler Reddick has got a big gap on Christopher Bell.
Absolutely, but still, it's there. You have that ability now. But look at those names: Eric Almirola, top 5; Tyler Reddick, top 5; Austin Dillon, top 10; Christopher Bell, top 10. Hendrick cars again. You got Hendrick in 2nd. You got Hendrick down there in 9th. We are seeing not the usual names, Motley, at the top.
No, I completely agree with you. And we've got some guys at the top. Like Denny has been consistent. We know Kyle Busch is going to be
Chase
consistent.
Elliott, the guy I've said is hottest in the sport.
Chase Elliott, Chase
Elliott's hottest in the sport.
Week in and week out, Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney are going to be there to contend. And everywhere they go now.
Unarguable that Chase Elliott is still the hottest driver in our sport.
I don't disagree with you, but I also really think that from a consistency standpoint, I think Ryan Blaney is just one little notch behind him. He just hasn't gotten to victory lane. But tell me a race we have seen lately that Ryan Blaney was not in contention late in the race.
No, you can't. Ryan Blaney's been up there, but not as much as Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott has been, we're splitting hairs right now, but these young guns are both near the top of this sport. We're seeing the resurgence of Hendrick with this. We're seeing a big Chevrolet resurgence with this. If you go to group matchups, Chase Elliott, look at the group that Chase Elliott won Group A against Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, Alex Bowman. I don't know if that was really good because we didn't get groups last week because of the way it was.
Yeah, we did not have those last week. But
and Denny Hamlin beat what was could be considered a Group A. He won that as the dog in Group B. A plus 290 as the dog. But Chase Elliott was Group A and beat Kevin and Kyle. And he would have beat anybody else. It had been Martin Truex. Had it been Joey Logano, he would have won that.
And I almost think people forgot that last year at Homestead, Denny had the best car. Denny was going to win the championship until they left that tape on his grill.
Yep. So
that really ended his day. And I think some people kind of forgot that. I don't think we gave Denny enough credit. I don't think we gave Denny enough credit.
No.
And the fact that he's got Chris Gapehart as crew chief back, I think that's making a difference for him. Well, remember, used to be when crew chiefs got suspended, what'd they do? They found a motorhome on the backstretch.
They just go to the war room now.
Okay, well, they got to go back to their shop anyway. So it's a little bit more different. Now you got to try to call people on cell phones because the radios don't.
So you're way behind the technology. Way behind.
Okay.
Way behind.
I hope your crew chief doesn't get suspended for the race this week.
My team's different. We don't have a war room. if poor Darren Shaw gets suspended, I've lost my only full-time employee. I'm in trouble. It's going to be me and my spotter, Ron Lewis, going, whoa.
You might be changing your own tires when you come in for a pit stop.
Me and Morgan Shepherd.
Yeah, well.
But anyway.
All right, fair enough. No, but now let me ask you another question about last week. Chase Elliott.
Yep.
Joey Logano.
Yep.
Now, Chase Elliott probably had as good a car as Denny Hamlin did.
He just, with 3-4 to go, was it? 3 to go, he was chasing him down. He was catching him.
But hold on.
Got the fence.
With about 20 to 25 to go,
they got to
Chase Elliott was leading the race, and he comes up on Joey Logano, who Chase Elliott had basically put in the wall at Bristol.
They have a history.
Joey Logano admitted on Tuesday, I think, in an interview after the race, that he took one away from me. I was going to take one away from him. Thoughts on that?
No, but listen, this is the give and take of our sport. This is the stuff I always say is, you race guys like they will race you. And he didn't block Chase Elliott. He slowed his momentum when he was catching Denny at a faster pace. So he didn't take it from him. Joey can flex his chest and be, me, Tarzan, I stopped him. No, he just slowed his momentum down. And did it cost him? Chase still caught him a couple laps later, but Chase still made a mistake later, which you take that risk of cracking an egg when you run that close to the wall.
Well, when you run at Homestead, that's just part of the deal.
It's going to be Darlington.
You've got to run. It is.
Yeah.
You're running within inches off the wall.
And
sometimes you can't even see a gap.
Off the subject, Noah Gragson in the Xfinity Series, if you watched it, look, everybody knows my history. I love the outside, Molly. I'm a high line runner. Noah, goodness gracious.
But he didn't hit it. And guess what? He should have won both races.
He did hit it a couple times, but when you've got a 12-second lead, give the wall.
He's running his hard time. Look, he didn't lose either one of those two races because of his driving. He just got
super proud of him.
Those stupid late cautions.
That's a name. Noah Gragson. It's a name you're going to be hearing in the future a lot when it comes to Cup racing.
There's an open seat coming up at Hendrick in the 48 car. Somebody's got to fill it.
I love Daniel Hemrick too. Look, I'm biased. I will freely admit I am a reporter. I guess I'm a reporter, kind of, that is biased. And Daniel Hemrick is I love him to death. We sponsor him still. We do a lot with him. But Noah Gragson, if he is interviewing for a job right now, I think there is no argument that Noah Gragson is not the leading candidate for a seat like Jimmy Johnson's seat that's coming open.
Well, I agree with you. I think right now when you look in that Xfinity Series, Noah Gragson and Chase Briscoe have become the class of the field over there.
Yep.
Those are two guys to beat.
How about
every
Chase
single
Briscoe
week.
made up 6 laps?
Well, he made up the first 3 because nobody had gone a lap down when the cautions came out.
6 laps.
That was pretty impressive.
Holy cow.
Denny Hamlin needed that at the Coke 600. All right, let's talk a little bit more about Homestead. One guy I really want to bring up is Tyler Reddick.
Looked phenomenal.
Holy smoke.
Has looked phenomenal. For the last
Childress is running back. And you know what? Austin Dillon has upped his game
because of it.
Because of Tyler Reddick.
And remember, we always say look for the betting side of this, Jeff. You can't win a race until you're finished. You can't finish in the top 10 until you're competing near it. You're not going to get top 5s until you're competing in the top 10. And you're not going to win a race until you're competing in that top 5 every week. Tyler Reddick has shown, and Austin Dillon also has shown, that they are now starting to get in this conversation that they are getting top 5s, they are getting top 10s, and if you look at the groups now, we have seen guys like Austin Dillon moving his way up the groups, and I think you're going to see Tyler Reddick moving his way up groups here pretty soon. You're no longer going to see them in DEF. You're going to start seeing them in CD.
Oh, I think you're exactly right. And actually, we've got, if you're looking at our screen right now, we've got the group results from Homestead, Group C. Ryan Blaney, who we talked about earlier, he was the favorite. He did win that group. Eric Almirola was the favorite in Group D, and we was co-favorite with Matt DiBenedetto, and he also won that group.
But now, he finished top 5 to win that group, which is a Group D. Had top 5 to win that group.
Almirola had to finish 5th because Austin Dillon finished 8th.
Yes.
7th in that race, and he's in that same group.
So, that in order to win that group right now, you need to be running that well, which is speaking volumes, like we said, for the bettors. It's going to make this a little bit more difficult, but you're going to be able to look at some of these lower groups, DEF, and you're going to be able to find a guy that's starting to run that way.
All right, Brendan, you used to drive for Richard Childress.
Yep.
What's happened over there?
Total change.
Number one, we've seen Reddick doing great, and I think he's lifted the whole team. Austin Dillon's running better, and we've talked before that Bubba Wallace is getting his engines from Childress.
Well, and his cars. And
Bubba Wallace is running better than he's ever run.
Yes.
Bubba is not necessarily is not a top 10 every week, but now he's a top 15 every week.
But now he's able to start talking in the conversation every week about the top 10s.
And Bubba Wallace won his group. You look at Group F from last week. Bubba Wallace was a co-favorite with Michael McDowell, and he won his group.
So for me, what I look at in that is you're asking, what did RCR do? They have done a complete changeover. They've gone off of one theory that they were building race cars off of. They dumped it and moved to a whole nother theory, and they are proving it the right move. Chevrolet has bumped themselves up and become a much stronger organization. Look at the Hendrick Group. Chase Elliott, strongest guy in the sport.
Been good. And other than last week, Kurt Busch's team missed it a little bit last week, but Kurt's been pretty good. Matt Kenseth, I really think, is still trying to get up to speed.
We talked about him early making big splashes. Now that the news cycle of him is over, he's getting he's working his way back into it. But the Chevrolets are arguably the most improved organizations, plural, from the ground up, Hendrick leading that way. And Richard Childress Racing is absolutely a different organization than it's been since Kevin Harvick left that place. And they have made a sweeping change on what they're doing and what they're focusing on. And it shows by their performance, and it shows by their performance of what they did last year in the Xfinity Series with Tyler Reddick.
And how incredible that we've actually sit and watched Toyotas win the last 2 races, and we really haven't even talked about them that much. Martin Truex Jr. wins, and then Denny Hamlin wins in the Toyota, but we really haven't even talked about them very much. Kyle Busch hasn't won a race at all this year.
Well, and we're going to talk about, when we get to Talladega in a minute, talk about the odds. Toyota, to me, is the one that has the biggest road to hoe at Talladega, because now that we do this new style of racing there with the manufacturers being so important, there's only 5 Toyotas in this field.
That's correct. Well, but you got to believe they're going to try to stick together when they get to Talladega.
Oh no, they all try. They try to, but the problem is when you've got 18 Chevrolets and 13 Fords, 5 can't push as hard.
It's much easier to get separated, and that's something that they're going to have to deal with. Because if they don't stay committed to each other, they're in big trouble.
But they do. Those guys, I'm telling you what, never seen a group stay committed like them Toyotas do. They work their tails off to be committed to each other, and it works.
Well, and I know here we're going to start talking about Talladega in just a minute, and I mean, we can even hit on it a little bit right now. The teamwork kind of makes the dream work.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
I mean, that's just sort of the way it is. And I think that we're going to see, in fact, we've got a really cool prop bet that we're going to be able to talk about is of the race teams.
Yeah.
The race teams are the favorites, whether it's a Gibbs car, whether it's a Penske car, Hendrick, or whatever.
But what I always tell everybody is there's goods and bads to that whole theory. The good is you work together and you become really strong. The bad is if you're working together and an egg gets cracked, you take poof, the whole organization disappears in one fell swoop.
Well, and there's been a lot of car owners who've sat over there on pit road or looking at their little monitor or whatever. They see those cars running together, and they're running up front, and they're like, I love this. All my guys are together. And in the blink of an eye, it's like, oh, my goodness, what happened? Why are all these cars coming in here on the wrecker? Yeah. Well, Brendan, I'm excited to talk about Talladega. When we come back, we're going to start talking about odds to win and top 3 on Gaughan Racing.
NASCAR show, live from the sportsbook at the South Point Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. Now, back to Gaughan Racing.
Exciting news here at VSiN. Today we will launch our very first Gaughan Racing podcast. Not only is it free, but you can download and listen to the show before it airs right here on VSiN. The new Gaughan Racing podcast is available via Apple, Google, iHeart, Spotify, and Stitcher, and at vsin.com/podcast. Brendan,
we're podcasters. We're podcasters.
We got radio, we got TV, now we got a podcast. We're like multimedia moguls.
I think I was told multi-platform moron is what I was told.
Well, something like that. Brendan, it's Talladega. One of your races to talk about this week. We're going to talk about the odds to win. Now, one thing that jumps out at me when I look at the odds to win the race this week, even the favorites, Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin, are double digits. Now, they're both 10-1.
Everybody loves to say crapshoot. You are the king.
I say crapshoot, but you said it before I did.
Because I'm pointing out, it's not a crapshoot. But you do get better odds because the number of drivers that can win this race is greater. But I still disagree with you. It's a crapshoot. But double-digit odds even for the favorites.
Do you know, though, a number of drivers have gotten their only wins at either a Daytona or Talladega, or their first win at Daytona or Talladega?
You increase the number of people that can win, but if you look at the history, this is not a crapshoot.
Now, when we talk history, and you and I were talking before the show started, I said, I've got 3 words for you. Penske, and
Gaughan.
Penske. No.
Oh.
Look, I will be rooting for you. Don't get me wrong. I will be rooting for you.
You got to look at that.
But now let's look at the odds here. Joey Logano, Team Penske, 10-1. We got Denny Hamlin there at 10-1, but then we got Brad Keselowski, 12-1, Team Penske. Ryan Blaney, 14-1, Team Penske. We got some other 14-1s, Chase Elliott, Kevin Harvick, and Kyle Busch. Kurt Busch at 16-1. I'm a little surprised if you go and you look way down the list. Matt DiBenedetto, who I consider Team Penske, at 30-1. And Matt DiBenedetto has been out in front at a lot of these races.
Here's the only thing that makes me nervous about Matty D. Matty D and I have worked with each other so well over the last couple of years when he was on the lower budget teams. At Daytona, now he's Menards, now he's Woods Brothers, now he's Penske, he's up front. He kind of has to run with that group. So he's in that danger zone, so to speak, more often. But Matt DiBenedetto, phenomenal plate racer, Penske, at 30-1, that's a phenomenal number for Matty D.
Well, and I think that this is the kind of race, I mean, now think about this. Let's do the math for a second, okay? When the two favorites are 10-1, if you bet 7 or 8 different guys to win this race,
you're still going to make money.
You've got a really good chance to make money as long as one of them comes in, and you don't get that crazy upset. You don't get that Trevor Bayne, David Reagan type upset.
Well, I look at the upset. I wouldn't call it an upset, but I'm looking down. There's a guy at 60-1 that I'm pretty partial to.
Do you guys share the same name, maybe? Now, I'm pretty excited to see you down there at 61 because, look, if people don't remember, you were leading this race last year at Talladega. Briefly. But all I know is you were looking out your windshield and you didn't see anything but racetrack and grandstands.
Nope, I was seeing the front. But look, a guy like John Hunter Nemechek at 50-1, me at 60-1, Michael McDowell. Michael McDowell is phenomenal at these places, 40-1. You mentioned Darrell Walsh Jr. at 40-1. These are guys that I know their strategy. This is strategy racing.
How about Ryan Preece at 80-1? That's the kind of guy
and they do the
shock
strategy.
The world.
See, those are the things that I keep telling you about. Why it's not a crapshoot; it's a strategy move. These are guys. We just named 5 people that generally do the same strategy. We race hard when we can, and we play it safe when we think it's going to be nasty up there. So we avoid some of the bigger ones. Now, you can't avoid the big one at the end. A la my wreck at Talladega.
You got to be in it to win it.
But you can be there at the end. So now I was a moron at Daytona and I was battling for a stage win in the first stage. I have no clue why. But normally
because when you put that helmet on and you stitch it up, it takes the brain cells out.
But to me, that is the reason why this is such a great race is as long as you can survive to the end of the race, yes, you have all these great winners. You must survive to get there. And that is a strategy, which is why it's not a crapshoot and why you see the same names up there all the time.
Well, and I think that's one of the great things that these guys have learned. And certain guys are better restrictor plate racers than others. And they've really kind of figured out.
Yes.
And I know,
I've named him. Michael McDowell's great.
I know we don't have restrictor plates. They're tapered spacers.
I just call it super speedway. That's the way we call it friendly. I don't see Ty Dillon on this. Oh, there he is. Ty Dillon's 80-1. That's another name. He will play that strategy, what I consider to be correct.
Well, and I think it's going to be really interesting because I think we're going to see a lot of comers, a lot of goers throughout the race. And you're right. There are going to be certain guys that are going to sit there. They're going to sit back in the back of the pack. Hopefully that you can kind of keep a draft with those guys. You don't want to get too far behind them. But I think when you see those guys start doing that, we'll see what plays out. Now, Brendan, we still got to talk about top threes and head-to-heads and all that. We got
groups today.
And we'll be back in a minute on Gaughan Racing.
To our weekly NASCAR show, live from the sportsbook at the South Point Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. Now, back to Gaughan Racing.
This program is brought to you by Big Lots. Live big, save lots. Go to a Big Lots store near you, or visit biglots.com. Brendan?
I live big.
You live big. You live big. Jeff Motley, Brendan Gaughan, Gaughan Racing. We're in our third segment. It's time to talk. Third segment, we talk about the top three. The top 3 this week, Chase Elliott we see as a favorite at plus 265. Then we got Keselowski and Logano at plus 275. Denny Hamlin plus 300. Ryan Blaney plus 350. Pretty good numbers on a lot of guys there.
And that's because, once again, it's you say the crapshoot, but they're a lot higher than normal. But for me, what I noticed there is if I'm going to bet it, Jeff, I'm going to look organizationally. And I'm going to go, you either go heavy on one organization and say that organization will be in the top 3. So if you take the Penske's, I'm going to jump in there. I'm going to take Brad Keselowski at 275. I'm going to take Logano 275. I'm going to take Ryan Blaney at 350. And I might even jump down to Matt DiBenedetto at 11-1 and say those are guys that if that organization survives the crash, they're going to be in the top 3.
Well, we know they're going to stick together.
Yep.
We know they're going to stick close together. Brendan, you're 16-1.
That's a hell of a number for me.
Is that a fair? I mean, look, I think anybody who has watched you race at Daytona or Talladega over the last few years, they know that unless you get into trouble that is not of your making, you're going to be there at the end.
We'll be there at the end. And me, I'd love to say it's a horrible number. We should be more like 50-1. But I mean, if you look at the history, you look at the people that are right there at 16-1. You've got Bubba Wallace, 13, Ty Dillon, 16, Ryan Preece, 16, Brendan Gaughan, 16, Michael Gaughan, 20.
Michael Gaughan?
Thank you. Michael McDowell, 20.
Wow.
You take those drivers in that range. Michael Gaughan's tell you what, don't take Michael Gaughan at 20-1.
We missed something in the news segment at the beginning of this show.
But Michael McDowell, 20. You just named 5 guys right there that you will see during the day. We will make a way up to the front, and we will also make our way back to the back. We will try to be there at the end. Those 5 drivers I just named at those numbers are a great bet for a top 3 in that race.
Well, and I think it's going to be a lot of different guys that are going to be up there at some point. Like if this is one of
at the end,
right? And this is one of those races that if you bet this, no matter what, do not early chirp.
Yeah,
until you see your guy cross the line with the checkered flag waving.
Yeah,
you got nothing coming because this could go any way. And we're not expecting to see what we're seeing from odds right now. We talked about this off air. We're not going to see these odds move a ton unless somebody puts a lot of money on somebody because there is no practice.
There's no practice. Yeah. So what they are now, look, you got to look at if it's Vegas. These are coming from DraftKings, so they won't move much. But if you got the odds in Vegas, because I'm a Vegas boy, you'll probably get more action on me. Get me when I'm higher, it'll probably go down. You're going to see a couple guys that might move down because you know that Michael McDowell, I'm talking so much about him, he's going to move down. So get those bets in now before those odds move, but they're not going to move as drastic as normal.
Yeah, and we've already decided we're not going to talk a lot about the driver head-to-heads because they're almost all the same. There is one that's
they're minus 110s, guys. They're minus 110.
Right.
Basically
almost everybody's minus 110. But there is one that we just kind of like.
There's one that's fun.
Because we've been doing these driver head-to-heads for a while. One thing I have not seen much of, if I can remember seeing, is Kurt Busch against Kyle Busch.
And it's funny they got Kyle Busch as the favorite
at minus 125.
Time out here. Kurt Busch last 10 races, 6 top 10s. Kyle Busch last 10 races, 3 top 10s.
And Kurt is a very accomplished
super speedway
racer. So I kind of like that. I just like the fact that they put Kurt and Kyle against each other for a change.
Kyle, I like the dog. Kurt,
I do.
I like the big brother.
I agree. I think that's kind of cool to have that matchup. But what do you and I really like talking about?
We're so happy we got normal races this weekend. We got the groups back.
We love groups, and we're going to have some prop bets that we're going to be able to talk about a little bit later too. But let's just start off with Group A. We clearly have a Penske. The Penske weighted thing. We got 3 Penske cars in it, along with Denny Hamlin. Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin go off as the 2 co-favorites at plus 255. Brad Keselowski 270 and Ryan Blaney 295.
The hard part with that group is 3 in one organization,
which means they could finish 1, 2, 3, or they could finish 38, 39, 40.
But they're going to also, if they're there, you're not going to get much. They're not going to get much jockeying if they're racing for the win.
Whoever's in the front at the white flag is going to win, right? So there's not going to be. All right, let me ask you: will anybody try to pass?
Hold on, they will. If the other organizations, if there's no outside line, if you've got Penske 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's nobody that can make that. Remember, Talladega's finish line is past the tri-oval.
Right, it's almost to turn 1.
That's right. If nobody's going to be there to catch us, yes, we will race for the end. But at the same time, when I finished at Daytona, I wasn't pulling out at the end of that race because I had too much to lose than to gain. I was trying to just hold my position because there was too many people 3 wide that would have swallowed me up. If they're running 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's an outside lane of Chevrolets right there that are trying to do something, no, you're pushing forward to the win. You're going to push your manufacturer to the win. If it's just us 4 and there's a little gap, oh hell yeah, we're racing the poop out of each other, and we're going to be there I'm going to try to be side by side with my teammate at the end.
That's what you want to do.
Yes.
Now, as much as we talk about the similarities in Group A, now let's go to Group B, where we've got 2 Chevys, a Toyota, and a Ford. Including the Busch brothers are in there together. We have no teammates in Group B. Chase Elliott, Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, all at plus 265. And
Kurt Busch, the dog.
Kurt Busch is the dog in there at plus 280.
I'm sorry.
I think he's the dog in there because we haven't seen Kurt in Group B that often.
But hold on. Kevin Harvick, last 10 races, only 3 top 10s. Kevin is in the wreck every time lately at these places. Kyle Busch, the only one that I could make an argument there maybe is Chase Elliott because he's had 8 races, 4 top 10s, and a win at Talladega. So Chase Elliott being a favorite there, I agree with. But Kurt Busch being the dog, I'm going to go heavy Kurt Busch.
I mean, and do you think maybe a little bit for Harvick? I mean, it seems like the Penske cars and the Stewart-Haas cars don't work together as much as maybe we see some of the Chevy teams.
They did the first year when this started, when the Ford started this, and since then you've definitely have a Penske faction and a Stewart-Haas faction in the Ford camp.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason why we've seen Harvick getting the accidents and we haven't seen Joey and Brad getting the accidents, because Joey and Brad seem to be running up front and Kevin seems to get mired in the back of the pack somehow or in the middle of the pack.
He just isn't as clean through it.
Right. All right, let's go to Group C. We got Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who
in Group C
who has been pretty good on the super speedway races at plus 265. Then we've got a little log jam there of Clint Boyer, Eric Almirola, and Alex Bowman at plus 270. Anything jump out there in Group C?
Yeah, Eric Almirola. Give him love, baby. Give him love. Eric Almirola, 1 win last 10 races there, 7 top 10s in the last 10 races, 4 of them top 5s at Talladega. I will give love.
I think you've got, in Stenhouse, Boyer, and Almirola, you got 3 sneaky good racers on super speedways who could certainly come in there and take
Bowman being in that one, 7 races, 2 top 10s, a second this race last year.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of data points on Alex Bowman, so I think it's going to be a little bit hard to. I think he is definitely the long shot in that group.
2 Chevys, 2 Fords. We'll see.
Correct. So when we come back on Gaughan Racing, though, Brendan and I still have some more group matchups. We got some prop bets to talk about. We'll be right back.
NASCAR show, live from the sportsbook at the South Point Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. Now, back to Gaughan Racing.
Quick Picks, the real money parlay props game based on daily fantasy scoring, has your favorite NASCAR drivers in head-to-head matchups in this week's races. And VSiN customers can play Quick Picks through this special offer. Get a 100% automatic deposit bonus up to $100 when you sign up for a new Quick Picks account. Sign up now at quickpicks.com/VSiN bonus. Then select the ones you think will finish with higher fantasy point totals. Pick between 3 and 10 drivers. Available in 27 states and D.C. Must be at least 21. Go to quickpicks.com/VSiN bonus and start playing Quick Picks now. Jeff Motley, Brendan Gaughan, back in our final segment of Gaughan Racing. We're going to finish up our group matchups. We left off at Group C. We're going to move into Group D, where we see Martin Truex Jr. as the favorite, dropping all the way down to Group D with a plus 265.
And let me tell you something. He's lucky he's even Group D.
Well, he struggled at Talladega. And we also got Austin Dillon, William Byron, and Matt DiBenedetto, one of those Penske cars. Well, we call him a Penske car. It's a Wood Brothers. At plus 270.
I like Matt DiBenedetto, and I like Austin Dillon. I mean, Austin Dillon, look, he's won a super speedway race in the past. He's very good there, but I think Matt DiBenedetto is getting there, coming. And if he's in that, we know how strong the Fords are here. Fords won 8 out of the last 9 races or something like that at Talladega.
They've been very dominant there. There's no question.
So I like Matt DiBenedetto because I know what he's going to be doing with the other Fords. I like that. I like Austin Dillon. I don't like Truex as the favorite.
Let's go to Group E. We've got Eric Jones and Jimmy Johnson are the co-favorites at plus 265. Ryan Newman, who is a very accomplished super speedway racer, at plus 270, and Tyler Reddick, who clearly to me, he is the class of the rookie field, is the long shot at plus 275.
You know, I look at that and I go, okay, I'm going to do a little bit of a hold on Ryan Newman right now. I think that, look, as dumb as I say all of us race car drivers are and how we're able to put things out of our head, I think Newman's going to be in a little bit of a wait and hold on his first super speedway back.
Yeah, we didn't remind people. He had that horrible crash at Daytona.
That he's fine, but I still think that he might just take a breather for a minute and be there at the end. We'll see. But I like right there Tyler Reddick. I just said I like Austin Dillon. I just said that if I'm going to jump on a Chevrolet bandwagon, that there's going to be some Chevys up there, and having me some Tyler Reddick in that group, how well he's run, how aggressive he's been. That aggression may hurt him, but I like, that's a tough, for me, Group E is a no touch. too much volatility with Newman, Johnson, and Reddick right there. I'm a little nervous about that one.
And then we got Group F, our final group, our Ron Flatter, Chris Buescher group is the Ron Flatter, Chris Buescher group. We got Chris Buescher back in it. Matt Kenseth is a favorite at plus 265. It's been a while since Matt Kenseth raced on one of these tracks. He probably raced Talladega toward the end of last year. I think he was filling in for somebody. I can't remember. But then we got plus 270s at Chris Buescher, Michael McDowell, and Bubba Wallace. Now, Bubba Wallace at a top 5, I believe, at Daytona. This guy's shown himself to be a really good super speedway racer.
He knows how to get there at the end. I go to Matt Kenseth. His last race at Talladega was 2017. People ask me if I'm rusty when I don't race until the next one. Nobody's raced a super speedway since I've raced. Matt Kenseth, a 3-year set of rust to knock off.
Yeah, I'm probably not going down the Matt Kenseth. I hope for Kurt Busch's sake that the other Chevy teams work with him, because I'm not sure.
But I look at Michael McDowell and Darrell Wallace. I think Darrell right now wants to be a little aggressive, and that's what scares me a little bit from Darrell, because I think right now he wants to be aggressive, and that aggression does not play well when it comes to racing at Talladega and Daytona. Sometimes that, valor kind of holds through. But Michael McDowell, Darrell Wallace, those are, to me, the two that stick out. Chris Buescher's great, but McDowell and Darrell Wallace, to me, I like both of them.
Yeah, I'm with you. Now, we've been kind of exciting this week. We got some really cool props. Our producer, Karina, has given us some really cool props to talk about. Winning manufacturer, we got Ford at plus 135, Chevrolet plus 165, Toyota plus 250. And we talked earlier, you're going to make Toyota the long shot simply because
there's so few.
There's fewer of them in the race.
But, Ford, like I just said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the last 9 races, 8 of the last 10, they have won this race. It's been since 2014 that a Toyota has won at Talladega. I think they're the favorite for a reason. The even odd is kind of evened out, Motley, because of this race.
Yeah, the car number. What we're talking about, the car number of the race winner and car number, whether it's even odd or over under certain number.
Those have changed. But there's a fun new one this week.
Team of race winner. And
I like this.
And, you and I talked Penske, but Penske's only a co-favorite with Joe Gibbs Racing at plus 350.
And we talked about Toyota being such a dog as a manufacturer, but you put Gibbs because at Daytona, Joe Gibbs Racing has been able to get it done. So both super speedways, at Daytona, Joe Gibbs Racing and the Toyotas perform well. For some reason at Talladega, they don't do as well. So you still got to give that history that they're there. But I do like this. There's a lot of fun here. Hendrick Motorsports plus 450, Stewart Haas Racing 550, Chip Ganassi 13-1. There's only 2 guys there, so you're getting a lot less value for that pick. JTG Racing 16-1, RCR 16-1. Guys with only 2 teams.
Let me ask you
Rick Ware Racing at 80. Putting Rick Ware in it. All right.
But let me ask you, if Matt DiBenedetto wins,
does that count as Penske?
Does that count as Team Penske? I'd be curious to see how they
I don't know.
And if Bubba Wallace wins, does that count as Richard Childress Racing?
This is off of DraftKings, so we'd have to get clarification on that, because that would make Team Penske even stronger if you add the fact that because
I kind of like the fact that Roush Fenway Racing is 20-1, Richard Childress Racing 16-1.
Yeah, those are right.
Because I think they've got some guys that could certainly pull some upsets.
I like the any other team at plus 500 personally. That's just my.
I think it'd be interesting. Okay, Brendan, it's the final segment of our show, which means we got to do our picks.
And we go in order from every week, right?
We do.
Okay, just checking.
Do you need to remind me that I've got to go first again this week?
Well, I'm just going to say, I'm not going to say who's going last.
So I'm going to bring up the caveat that last week we did not have groups or head-to-heads to pick from, so we had to pick race winners and top threes. And I'm really, like the ultimate bridesmaid here with Chase Elliott finishing second 2 times now. I picked him to win a race, and he's finished second. And
Karina has gone from winner to Ofer.
Exactly. So Karina thought she had the and Karina, if you guys know, she is producing for us right now, and she thought she had the perfect strategy last week, and it completely blew up in her face.
Well,
she took the last 5 race winners at Homestead, picked them all for top 3, and she missed on all of them.
And I think she's just trying to make sure that she, Isaiah may be getting healthy and coming back soon, and she knew that if she keeps picking winners against us and beating us, that she probably would keep her job.
She's really more afraid that if she beats us, she ends up in the hospital.
We've had 2
producers end up in the hospital after beating us in the picks.
Lest we forget Ann and Jorge.
Well, Jorge didn't end up in the hospital. He never beat us.
Well, good point.
All right.
See?
Okay. And without further ado, I have to go first because I am really, really stinking up the show right now. So, Brendan, I'm going to go.
Change them glasses. Show you.
I've got to take the glasses off so I can read. I don't know if it means I'm getting old or I'm feeling younger. I don't know. But I'm going to go. My first pick is a top 3. I'm going Ryan Blaney.
Okay.
At plus 350 in the top 3. And I'm going to double down on Ryan Blaney in Group A at plus 295. I think this might be the week that Ryan Blaney pops through. I'm going into Group B. I'm going to take Chase Elliott. You said earlier you hated this group, but I'm going into this group anyway. I'm going into Group E, and I'm going Tyler Reddick.
Volatile.
Tyler Reddick in Group E. And then I'm also going to Group F, and I'm going Bubba Wallace because I've been kicking myself the last 2 or 3 weeks for not taking Bubba in his group, and he's won his group. So those are my 4 picks right there. 5 picks. I can't even count today.
That's
4
right.
on the groups, 1 on the top 3. And with that, we're going to turn it over to Karina or the pit crew picks.
Well, Karina won't, we keep trying to force her to be on camera. She's shaking her head still. She will not do it. So she gave me her 6 picks today.
Oh, she gave them to you.
Yeah,
She's not even going to read them into the
No,
book.
she won't read them. She says she won't read them.
And why does she get 6 picks?
Well, because she has Michael Gaughan to have a top 3.
Oh, well, Michael Gaughan is probably not going to win or finish the top 3.
It says Michael Gaughan, top of the sheet. So,
Okay.
No, she has Ryan Blaney to win the race at 14-1. She's going off the Penske strategy we've talked about. I think she might be trying to kiss somebody's butt a little bit. I think she wants to keep her job on Gaughan Racing another week. She has Brendan Gaughan in the top 3 at 16-1. Bright woman. Kyle Busch Group B at plus 265. Car number over at 16.5. I see a trend there also. I'm liking it. And Hendrick Motorsports on the team grouping at plus 450. So that would be the Karina / pit crew picks for the week. And who gets to go last now?
Well, the only person who scratched it all last week who picked Chase Elliott to finish in the top 3 was you. So go ahead.
Hottest guy in the sport. How many times I said it?
Okay.
I'm not going on the hottest guy in the sport. I must take a moment here to reiterate to my friends at NASCAR and to all those listening and podcasting on iHeart and all the rest of these.
And all these different multimedia outlets that we're now
that I am. That remember, my picks are only for entertainment purposes only. I am still racing, and I do not have any real money bet on any of these. I do not break our NASCAR gambling policy rules, but I still do it for
Brendan
fun.
Steve Phelps is on line 1.
Line 1. Yeah. Mike Helton is on line 2. I'm taking myself to win the race at 60-1 because, dang right, I'm going to pick myself to win. If I didn't, I wouldn't be a competitor. I am also going to take myself in the top 3 because I think if I can win, I can be in the top 3. And I'm going to take Chevrolet as the winning manufacturer because the 62 car is a Chevrolet. Then I'm going to go the brotherly love. I'm going to hit Kurt Busch and Kyle Busch head-to-head. I'm going to take the big brother, even though I'm a little brother, but I'm taking Kurt at the plus 105. I like that. And then I'm going to go all the way down into Group F. I'm going to go head-to-head with you. You are taking Darrell Wallace Jr. I am taking Michael McDougal, not Michael Gaughan. Michael McDowell as my last pick.
All right. We'll see how those turn out for you next week. You know what, Brendan?
I hope I win 3 of them.
I hope you win 3 of them. I'm actually going to be cheering for you. There's no question about that.
Normally he doesn't. That's why he says.
And we got a little less than a minute to go in the show, so I'm going to kind of just give you the floor a little bit and just kind of talk about what to expect this weekend at Talladega and what we're going to see out of the Beard Oil Chevrolet.
No, I mean, look, I'm excited to be back at the track. I'm honored that we had such a great finish at Daytona that we were able to stay in the points for this race. We're 39th, which locked us in with no qualifying. So I appreciate it. I appreciate all the fans following us. I appreciate you guys at home listening along. Enjoy the ride with the 62. Enjoy the hashtag not gone yet because I'm still there. I'm still kicking. Hopefully we do not end up with those watching the VSiN stream. Do not end up with more spectacular photos like that one right there of me flying through the air with the greatest of ease. Well, and hopefully I'll talk to you next week.
Well, you got a lot of publicity out of it, but I can't wait next week to hear about how the GEICO 500 went. We'll be back next week on Gaughan Racing.